Out of the Tunnel's Mouth was a whole different proposition. It was the third time I tried to record an album. I started recording this stuff, and then there were various legal problems surrounding the album I was working on. I started an album with Chris Squire, and then his wife fell pregnant and he moved to the States in the middle of it. And then I thought, third time lucky, let's start another album. So I did, and at that point I was recording at home in the living room. And so that album is distinct sonically from any other thing I've ever done. It was a case of recording in miniature. I wasn't even using an amp this size, it was just going straight in with tiny little boxes. My amp the size of a cigar box, and but the nice thing about working in miniature like that was that Roger King and I were not fooling ourselves with volume. You could really get a chance to hear, what does the guitar sound like? That sounds interesting. We weren't able to use real drums on it, we used virtual drums, but Roger's so good at programming those that a lot of people thought, it's not really possible for someone to make samples sound like that, but he really did. He was getting virtuoso performances. At times, like on the second track, Nomads, there were two kits going, two virtual kits, and it's really extraordinary. The playing on that is really great.
Tunnel's Mouth. Well, Steve came over for dinner one evening and he said, we've started work on the album and it's shaping up quite well. Would you like to play on it? And I said, well, naturally, I'd love to. And he said, well, these are the tunes. So we listened to it in my studio and I thought they were fabulous. So he just left it with me, just left the basic tracks with me, and I put it on my computer and I started recording and just sent him the files, because that's the way we do it now. We file share. And they were very happy with it all, and it's a bit of a boring story, really.
I'm very pleased with the way it sounded. I think the previous album, Wild Orchids, was very smooth sounding, but I was after a sort of level of clarity from this one. From the word go, when you start hearing the sort of sampled musical box coming in, and that's right back to, obviously, back to Genesis days and roots. The idea of that tinkly little sound and the very toppy, little tiny little voice created a mood with the album that sustained throughout, and I was thrilled that fans liked it as much as they did. There's always a danger that it's every time you record an album, it's an absolute shot in the dark, and you never really know if people are going to like it or not. So I was just doing something that I thought, I like this, I hope people will like it, but I had no idea the response was going to be so overwhelming.